All right, everyone, good evening. I think this is one of the longest breaks I've ever taken from learning Torah. It's been basically a full week. The last year was Thursday. Good thing I didn't come in person. I had COVID. And I was done being symptomatic and on an antiviral pretty quickly, thank God. And then I was out of town the last 2 days, and I'm probably out of town tomorrow, but I'll keep you posted. And Ruvain Handler will probably teach again if I'm out of town.
Yay!
Keep your feelings to yourself, bro. Just is what it is. We are on the top line of Chaf Beis Amud Aleph, and today we're going to be learning up to the Mishnah on the bottom of Chaf Beis Amud Beis, and then just looking out for tomorrow, it should be a blot and a half. As you can see, it's really not a major lift for tomorrow night. It's Torah, but it's not like the major blot and a half. And then this coming week, we will see. Even if you want to bounce ahead to Chaf Tes Amud Aleph, you'll see. It says Ad Kan Pirush Rashi Zichrono Tzadik Livracha Mikan Ve'elach Pirush Rabbeinu Shmuel Bar Meir. Rashi dies in his commentary of Bava Basra this week on Daf Chaf Tes, and then the whole I have no idea. And then the whole Masechta will take a turn in regards to the concentration of the dapim. At that point, there's a big shift in regards to the length of the dapim because Rashi was very concise. So when they did the pagination, it left more room for the body of Shas. But the Rashbam was so wordy and he needed to fit all of his words that the Gemara shrunk to make, when they were paginating this is hundreds of years old. I don't know how old he was when he died. Yeah, that's probably, I don't remember by heart, but he died in the middle of this commentary. It's fascinating just to see it. The rest of Shas is Rashbam? No, because it wasn't Rashi's commentary wasn't linear from Brachos to Nida. It wasn't like that, as you'll see, because later Masechtas have Rashi. Again, I don't know I don't know what he did. I mean, we know Nadarim he did it. There was a few Masechtas that we learned that he didn't have commentary. Okay, all of that's going to come up this week. Here we go. Top of Chav Beis Amud Aleph. Amar Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak. If you have people who sell perfume in a particular community, they're selling, let's call it makeup. So then, you can't stop somebody else from selling in that community. This shaila came up when I became a moel. I asked this shaila, is there a din of like lo sasi gvul reacha? We have a din in it's my bar mitzvah parsha actually in Parsha Shoftim Sefer Dvarim. Of that you're not allowed to encroach on other people's business. So by a moel, no such thing. People can use whoever they want. It's not like opening a butcher next door to a butcher. It's not like that. If I wanted to open, next to Ken's diner, Phil's diner, that's not right. That's usser. That's Nisr D'Oraisa probably. That's Nisr D'Oraisa. Anyways, so there's here by Rochlin it's mutter da Amar Mar Ezra tiken lahem Yisrael shi Rochlin machzirim ba'yaros. Why is it that Ezra was mitaken that we should always be mekel in cases of Rochlin, of people who are handing out perfume? Because Kadeshu Tachshit Metzios Livnos Yisrael, we wanted the women of the community to not be magunos. We wanted them to be able to be beautiful, whatever the case may be, and therefore it's mutter. Fascinating. Halach l'maisa. The Rambam has this in Hilchos Yisurei Bia that it's usher to smell a woman's perfume midrabanan. Our noses are not closed. We don't walk around with a clothespin and that's not what it means. It means we don't take a second breath. Even if it's appealing to you, that's not allowed. He holds that it's, according to some Rishonim, it depends how you learn the Rambam. There's like two different halachos. According to some, the first halacha is D'Oraisa and the other is D'Rabbanan. So this is in halacha base over there in Hilchos Yisurei Bia. So we try to be very careful about these things. It's not so pashut. It's not a pashut azach, but halacha has a very high bar because we're supposed to be very high caliber people. And Bahani Mili says the Gemara la'ahadu, right? When is it that we allow this rochel, this perfume peddler, to work in the community? That's only if he has like a portable cart. However, aval le'akbu'e lo, we don't allow the guy to open a store. Again, you don't have Phil Spices and that's not nice. That's not right. We don't allow for that. Yes, you can walk around with your cart. You can go the Revlon. Back in the day, they would knock on the door to door makeup. Huh?
Avon.
Mary Kay, Avon, not Revlon. Avon, very good. Now you're dating yourself a little bit, Gerald. Just a little. Although my grandmother was a Fuller Brush lady, so my father's mother, my nana, she used to sell those products door to door in Charleston. So that's what the Gemara says, that yes, we are lenient for the rochel, for someone who is a peddler of perfumes. However, there's a limit, which is that it can only be that they're kind of going door to door and they can't open a store.
There's more than a certain number of people.
The Gemara doesn't distinguish because of the Takana of Ezra, seemingly.
Because if you have 1,000 people. or
But
even
we'll
10,000
see.
people,
We'll see in a minute that there is a distinction between Yom HaShuk and not Yom HaShuk when it's like, the flea market day. Because then on that day, everyone's allowed to, it's like kind of, everyone can do whatever they want. It's like a little bit more chaotic. Halachically mutter. But no, the distinction's not found here. And the Gemara then adds an awesome caveat. V'yitzur b'meirabanan, if the person who's selling perfumes is a Rav, he's a Talmud Chacham, so then afilu le'ikbu'e nami, he can open a store. Take a look at Rashi. This is just amazing. Rashi says 6 lines down, Dibra Maskil v'itzur b'meirabananhu, the tarid begirsa v'lav urche la'hadure afilu la'akbu'e nami. It's not right. You don't make a Rav go do that. You don't make a Talmud Chacham go do that. Give the guy a store. No problem. Kodesh Baruch Hu is in charge. That guy's got to go learn. Let him knock out his parnasa and let him go learn. So that's like, could you hear this? This is gorgeous. Like halacha is state. Like the guy has to go learn. Stop bothering him. Let him have a store. So we make this halachic distinction, and it's quoted. Lamaisa. It is quoted in Shulchan Aruch and Choshen Mishpat Siman Kuf Nun Vav and Seiv Vav that there's a difference between the average merchant and a Rav and a Talmud Chacham. I'll just qualify. I believe this is the case from other Maramakomos, not from here, that we're talking about someone where Torah umnaso, like someone who's like a kolo guy, not like us. We're not talking about, we're B'nai Torah, we're frum, we're stark, we're motivated, it's great, but we don't fall into this category. And the Gemara tells a story. Ki had Rava, Shar Lahu Rav Yoshio Rav Ovadia. He allowed these two rabbanim la'akbuye delo kehilchasa. He allowed them to open stores which otherwise wouldn't have been allowed in halacha, namely had they not been rabbanim. My time, Kevin the rabbanan ninhu, because they're rabbanim asu letirdu migir sayu. It would otherwise be very difficult for them to be stark in their learning, and therefore we were makel. Halachic sugya number 1 for today. Let's move on to number 2. Hanu di kulai. There are baskets. To aisu dikla lebavel. Baskets were being brought by someone into Bavel. And this guy wanted to sell, hats for sale. What's that? Caps for sale. The guy's walking into town. He's got all of the baskets on top of it. He wants to sell them. So asu b'nei mata, the people of the city, and kama akve ilavai. They went over them and say, "Oh, you're not a local. You're not a local. You can't sell here." Asu l'kamid Ravina. They went to go ask a shayla. The guy's like, "I'm sorry, I don't think you're right." So they went to go ask a shayla to Ravina. Amar lahu me alma asu ula alma lisbenu. The guy, everybody's all over the place. You can do whatever you want. Rashi la alma Lisbanon, what does that mean? Yom Deshuka Hava. This was what I was telling text before. This was a day when everyone was there. V'harbe boin mimakom acher liknos min hashuk lefichach ein b'nei ha'ir me'akven. Gam ala mochram lahavi umnasam. The same. It's mutter l'mocher l'nikbatz in the shuk. Everyone's allowed to sell on a day that is a day of the shuk. However, the Gemara qualifies a quarter of the way down. If I walked into Bavel with 100 baskets on my head, and I don't live in Bavel, I live in Yerushalayim. I just was trying to make a mint because I know the market's good there. No, only on a Yom HaShuk. You can only do it on a day when it's a public marketplace. But I can't walk in on a regular Tuesday and just start selling. That's not right. That's Hasagas Gvul. That, again, even if it's not halachically Hasagas Gvul, it's not right. It's not good business practice. It's not what we do. And Yom HaShukanami, even on the Yom HaShuk, I go into Bavel, I have 100 baskets on my head. It's Yom HaShuk. Nobody can complain. I have the heter from Ravina. We're good to go. However, there, Lo Amrina El Zuni B'Shuka, that's only there. But I can't walk around the community. I have to stay in the Shuk area. I can't just Kilu, like in New York where they have the push carts, So there, the push carts, that you can't do that. You got to just stay local to wherever the flea market is, wherever the market is. Next case. Hanu Amorai, people who, not Amorai with an aleph, right? Not like Amoraim with an aleph, like an Amora. Amorai with an ayin, from imor, from wool, right? So you have a person who's selling wool. To Aisu Imra Lefum Nara. And the guys wanted to sell wool in the city of Lefum Nara. It's the name of the city. As you can imagine, it's at the open of a river. This locale is the name of it. It's almost like, I can't remember the name of that book when we were kids, Dancing with Wolves. That's what it's called. The Indians gave the names of people, which was their function. So this is the name of the city, which was its function. It was Lefum Nara. It was the opening of a river. That's the name of the city. Also, the people in town are like, bro, you can't sell wool here. It's not right. You're taking our parnasa. Also, the Kamidur of Kahan became a din Torah. They went to go ask a shaila. Amar lahu dina hu dima'akve ilaychu. They're allowed to stop you. You don't live here. You get out of here. What are you? You can't just show up and sell things whenever you want. If I want to walk into Lincolnwood Town Center and put my own little stick in the middle, that's also that's not right. You have to pay rent, whatever the halachos are. It's not nice. Amrulay, These guys said, Islan Ashray. The problem is, they said to Rav Kahana, is that we're chasing credit. People owe us money, and I can't eat. I don't have any money. I have payment. The guys are paying me a shekel a week for the next 10 weeks, but the other 9 shekel I don't have. I don't have any food. What am I supposed to do? So then they got a kula. Amar Luhu. Then Rav Kahana said back to these guys, fine, Zilu, you can go. Zavnu shiur chiyusayim. You can go sell the amount for which you need to live. Very hard number to determine, right? We'd have to figure out what that means. Ad de akrisu ashroy, until you're able to offset the credit that you have yet to collect. Didchu. So then get out of here. So I'm going to let you go. I'm giving you some latitude. You got a little bit of rope, but let's say it's 10 shekel. You sell 10 shekel and you book. Get out of here. So I'm giving you some rope. So Allah is very sensitive again. Okay, we understand. We understand. Third of the way down. Rav Dimi minar, complex story. Rav Dimi minar doy, I see grogros besfina. He brought dried figs on a ship. Amarle reish gelusa l'rava. Pok chazi itzurba me'rabanan hava. Why did we want to check if he's a Talmud Chacham? My nafkamin if he's a Talmud Chacham. The nafkamin is whether or not he's allowed to sell. Because normally we have a restriction that you're not allowed to sell. But here we're saying that if he's tzurba me'rabanan, he's a Talmud Chacham, then we do have a leniency that he's allowed to sell. And if in fact he is a Talmud Chacham, then nakid le shuka. Not only are we going to allow him to sell, but we're going to say that everyone has to buy from him first. Because Talmidei Chacham have to get back to the Beis Medrash, right? That's their life. That's their bloodline. We have to make sure that these people are, that their lifeblood, I should say. We have to make sure these people get back into the Beis Medrash. Okay, so fine. That's what the Reish Galusa said to Rava. We need to see is Rav Dimi. So that means obviously we're early on in Rav Dimi's life because we know he's a Talmud Chacham. We've heard his name 1,000 times. Maybe even literally. So the Gemara says, Amar le Rava le Rav Ada bar Abba. Rava delegates and says, Rav Ada bar Abba, do me a favor, poke. Tahile bekankane. Go look in his basket. Literal translation. It's let's just say, go make sure he's worth his stuff, right? Whatever our modern parlance would be. Go make sure the person's a Talmud Chacham. Nafat, he went out. Versus Rav Ada bar Abba goes out at the request of Rava. Azal and Ba'amine asks a shaila to Rav Dimi. Gemara says halfway down, right across from Tosos Bekama. Peel an elephant. Shebala kfifa mitris. An elephant swallowed a kfifa mitris is a basket. It's a basket. It's called the kfifa mitris. And the hikia derech beis harei. And how did it leave the animal's body? Literally, the modern Hebrew haki means to throw up in modern Hebrew. But here, it's not what it means. It means that it's derech rei. It means that it was fecal matter. It came out as part of him going to the bathroom. Mahu. How do we view this? Do we say it's like the clay galalim and it's not okay, it's not a basket? Or do we say it still maintains its original din? So the Gemara says about Rav Dimi, lo hava biyada, he didn't know the answer to the question. Omar le, Rav Dimi looks at Rav Ada bar Abba and says, Mar nihu Rava? Are you Rava? I know what city I'm in, and I know I'm being questioned by you. You must be Rava. There you go. Now, Rav Ada bar Abba was like, you totally got the wrong guy. Topach le besandle, kicked his shoe. He was like, are you crazy? Could you imagine like somebody coming over to one of us and be like, are you the Dayan? He'd be like, you definitely have the wrong guy. You definitely have the wrong. So that's what he did. He kicked his sandal. Whatever that means, he kicked his sandal. Amar le, ben didila Rava ikatuva. Between me and Rava is mountains, where there's a huge gap between us. Miu al korchach. On a Rabcha, I clearly know more than you because you didn't know the answer to the question I just asked you. So I know more than you. The Rava, Rabba de Rabbach. And Rava is your Rav's Rav, namely my Rav. So it's right? That's sort of Ravada bar Abba. Okay, so also Lakame de Rav, oh, sorry, I skipped the line. Lo naktu le shuka. And because he didn't know the answer to the question, guess what? He wasn't Surba Merabbanan. Because he wasn't Surba Merabbanan, they didn't allow him to have the day in the shuk. He wasn't allowed to sell. And pasid gross today, and he was upset because all of the dried figs ended up getting ruined. Also, the Kaimei de Rav Yosef, they went in front of Rav Yosef. Amar le chazimar my abduli. Look what Rav Ada bar Abba did by not allowing me to be registered as a Talmud Chacham. I didn't get the little stempel, and therefore I didn't get to sell. I really am a Talmud Chacham. He just missed it. He misunderstood me. Amar le. So let's get all the names straight. Who's talking now? Rav Yosef responds to Rav Ada bar Abba and says, Amar le, man de lo shehia leonisa de malka de Edom, the one who did not wait in regards to the Melech of Edom, lo nishhaya leonisich. He's also not going to wait for you. In other words, we're going to Kodesh Baruch Hu is going to come to bat for you. He's going to take care of you. because the pasuk says, this is a pasuk in Amos. I'm sure we're all very familiar. The pasuk says in Amos, Ko Amar Hashem, Al Shlosha Pishei Moav, there are 3 sins of Moav, Al Arba Lo Ashivenu, and the 4th, I'm not going to return. Al Sarfo Atzmos Melech Edom, that the Melech of Moab burnt to the bones of Melech Edom. Again, we're going to stay away from the context for right now, but nevertheless, that pasuk is a right that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to defend the Melech of Edom, and so too he's going to defend Rav Ada, he's going to defend Rav Dimi. So then the Gemara says, uniquely, the Gemara says, Noch nafshe de Rav Ada bar Abba. Rav Ada bar Abba was the person who Rava had sent to go check on Rav Dimi, and he died. And now from here until the Mishnah, everyone has a guilty conscience, and we're trying to figure out who, hashkafically, caused this death. Not one of them said it was medical issues. Everyone looked inside and said, personal responsibility, I messed up. Fascinating. In our culture, we're like, well, it's not my fault. We would have been the exact opposite. It's his fault. It's everybody else's fault. I didn't do anything wrong. Here, it's the exact opposite because these people are balei chrais. Rav Yosef Amar, Ana Anishte. I'm the one who punished him. The Ana Letaise, because I'm the one who ended up cursing him, a reference to the pasuk that he had quoted from Amos. Rav Dimi Minahar Amar, Ana Anishte. I did it. The Afsid Grogros Didi, because it was my Grogros that he ended up ruining. So when I went to Bezdin to complain, my complaint triggered a din, my fault that he died. Abaye Omar Ona Anishte, last of the short lines, 3/4 of the way down on Chav Beis. I said, I'm the one who punished him, because the Amar Lahu the rabbis had said, Ademigremisu Garmi Be Abaye. Now that you're learning some Torah by Abaye, Su Achlu Bisra Shmeina Be Rava, go eat where there's some fat on the bone. Namely, Rav is a higher level than Abaye, and Abaye was insulted, and because Abaye was insulted, those negative feelings led to the death of Rav Ada bar Abba. The Rava, first of the long lines, Rava Amar Ana Anishte, I'm the one who's in charge, because the Chi Hava Alzi Lebei Tabcha Lemishkal Umtza, when he came to the Tabach to go, buy some meat, Amar Lahu the Tavche Ana Shkilna Bisra Mikme Shame de Rava the Ana Adif Namine. Rav Ada bar Abba had said, I go before the Eved. It's not, like in the story, you like pull a tag, you're like, I'm number 42, and I go before. No, there was all about chashivas. So if you were a pauper, you're in the back of the line. You're in the back. So here, Rav Ada bar Abba said, it's really my fault because Rava sent his Eved to go get food, and Rava's Eved was in front of Rav Ada bar Abba. Rav Ada bar Abba said, I'm more chashav, I'm bigger chacham than you, so I get to go first. So maybe he takes responsibility. Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak Amar Ana Anishte. He says it was really my fault. Why? So Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak Reish Kalahava. He was the Reish Kala, meaning he used to give the shiur klali. He used to give a regularly regimented shiur. I remember when I was in Shalvim, Rav Avidan Zichrono Livracha used to give the shiur klali. He would prepare for hours. I remember in the Beis Medrash, he had a niggin when he would figure out. He'd sit in the Beis Medrash for hours, pounding for shiur klali for that kind of week. We all stopped learning and watched him. It was God. This was amazing. It was amazing. This guy gave shiur klali. Not this guy. That's not nice. Rav Nachman gave shiur klali. And Kol Yoma, how did he prepare after he learned all the Marim Makomos? He would talk it through with someone. Who did he talk it through with? Rav Ada bar Abba. Says the Gemara, Kol Yoma, Mikme Dinei Lakala, before he'd go up and give the shiur, Marhit Vahadei Rav Ada bar Abba L'shmaitze. He'd run through the sugya with Rav Ada bar Abba. And says the Gemara, Vahadar Ayah Lakala. Then he'd go up to the pulpit and he'd be like, okay, I'm ready for my shiur klali. Everybody take a seat. However, Hahu Yoma, on this particular day, Naktur Rav Papa Rav Huna Bred Rav Yoshua, the Rav Ada bar Abba. They sidetracked Rav Ada bar Abba. Rav Ada bar Abba was walking to go do the Chazara with his Rebbe, with Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, and he got sidetracked by these two Amoraim, by Rav Papa and Rav Huna. And why were they sidetracked? Because Mishum Delo Haba B'Siyuma, because they weren't there for the previous year and they wanted to catch up. They needed a Chazara. We missed last year, Claudia. Give us an update. Really, he should have left, and I have to go to Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak. And then Amrulay, the shiur said to Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak, no, Rebbe, we're ready to start. Eimalon Hani Shmaitza, the Meiser Behema, Hechi Amrinu Rava, come teach us Torah, that shiur on Meiser Behema that you. So Amar Lahu, he said, Hachi Amar Rava, Hachi. Oh, sorry, let me just go back a little bit. Amrulay, they said to him, meaning the Amoraim said to Rav Ada bar Abba, the shiur that we missed yesterday, Eimalon, please tell us, Rav Ada bar Abba, Hani Shmaitza, the Meiser Behema, Hechi Amrinu Rava. What was Rava's shiur? What was Rabbi Shir say? He gave him the answer. Amar Lu, Hachi Amar Rava, Hachi Amar. He explained the whole shiur to them. In the meantime, While Rav Ada bar Abba was talking to these Amoraim, Noga le the Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak. He was late for the Chazor of the shiur of Nachman bar Yitzchak. And the Gemara says, Amru le, I have to skip the parentheses, 6 lines from the bottom. Amru le Rabban on the Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak. Kum de Nogalon. Lama le Simar, you're late. Why are you sitting there? Come up and give shiur, Rebbe. I want you to teach some Torah. So Amar lo Yisivna. He said, I'm sitting. Become in Torah. I'm waiting. And he used a very dangerous language. He said, I'm waiting. Le'arse de Rav Ada bar Abba. I'm waiting for the pine box of Rav Ada bar Abba. I'm waiting for the funeral. It was a negative colloquialism. He's late. You know, he may as well be in the box by now. Something negative like that. And right after Rav Nachman said that, they found out that Rav Ada bar Abba died. So it says the Gemara, and the Gemara concludes this way: Umistabra de Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak anshe. It in fact was Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak who caused for the death of Rav Ada bar Abba. We have a line like this that we've seen before. I can't remember the Hebrew right now, but sometimes when a person says something, it's as though the master said it, like it's Yatzami Piv Shalit or some kind of line. I can't remember the exact line, but that's what we're talking about over here. The Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak innocently, it wasn't trying to hurt anybody, but he ended up inadvertently causing. I don't know if he's a murderer, I don't know. And the Gemara doesn't deal with that piece, but there's a gram that he seems to have some type of causation in order to create for the death of that person. We are 3 lines from the bottom on Chok Beis Amud Aleph. The Gemara says, Misha haya koslo samach lekos al chaveru. I have a wall, and my wall is close to your wall. So the Gemara says, Lo yismach lekos al acher. If there's then going to be, if I'm going to add, I have one wall, you have one wall. If I want to add a second wall, so then I can only do that. Ela im kain hirchik mimenu arba amos. Has to be 4 amos away from your wall. That's din number 1 in the Mishnah. Number 2, achalonos, windows. Bein milamatan, bein kenegdan, above, below, and opposite, arba amos. Okay, so let's start with the Gemara at the bottom of Chaf Beis Amud Aleph. The Gemara says on the bottom line, "V'kama heichi samich." This first wall, what was the distance between the walls? So Amar Rav Yehuda Hachi Kamar, turning to the top of Chaf Beis Amud Beis. Gemara says, Hacha lismoch lo yismoch elaim kain hirchik mimenu arba amos. We're not talking about the first wall. We're not talking about anything other than that first wall. That when you're making a wall, it has to be 4 amos away. Now, the pashtus of the Mishnah is not that way. The pashtus of the Mishnah is if I'm adding a second wall to my pre-existing first wall. So you've got Biton's got a wall. I already had one wall. I want to add another wall. Total 3 walls. 2 walls mine, 1 wall yours. The Gemara says, no, it's lismoch lo yismoch ela im kain. I can't make it even. How close can I make wall number? It says Gemara. It's not about wall number 1. Maskiv la rava. V'hamisha haya koslo samach lekoslo chaverok tani. There it says there's already one. I already have 1 wall next to you. What do you mean? We're talking about the first wall. So Elo Amar Rava. Rava rejects this first answer, and this first answer was in the name of Rabbi Yehuda. Rava lived 2 generations after this person. Rabbi Yehuda was the Amora who learned both under Rav and Shmuel. He was a 2nd century Amora. Rava was a 4th century Amora. So we're looking, call it 50-ish. Their generations were earlier because they had children much younger. They were having children in their late teens, whatever. Let's call it 30, 40 years. He's probably 30, 40 years younger than Rabbi Yehuda. Again, I don't know exactly, but Be'erach, that's about how long it was. So Rava didn't agree. Oh, now we have another case. What's Rava's Ukimta? The wall fell down. Now I have the opportunity to rebuild the wall. Lo yismach lo kos acher and kin hirchak mimenu daled amos. He gives an Ukimta that our Mishnah is talking about where wall number 1 fell down. And now I'm building wall number 2. Good. When you're building wall number 2, richuk daled amos. You got to make sure that there's a gap between me and the bitons. No problem. My taima, and this is going to kind of snake its way through the sugya until we get to the Mishnah. My taima. Why do we need to have daled amos between my wall and the biton's wall? So the Gemara says a fascinating din. Because when I am pressing on the ground over here, when I walk, my feet depress the soil, it compacts the soil, and that strengthens the wall. But if there isn't daled amos between the wall, it's very, very narrow. And because it's narrow, people won't walk there. And because people won't walk there, the ground doesn't get compacted with every step. And therefore, the integrity of both of our walls is less. So the Gemara says a din of daled amos because of davsha. We want to make sure that we're going to have this idea of pressing down the ground. Take a look at Rashi on the 3rd line of the page. Dibra maschil davsha dahacham alelasam masha dashin biregel bein shnei haksalim tamid. when constantly people are walking between my wall and the beton's wall, mo'il l'shnei aksalim lahakshos karkais yisodos aksalim v'lo yamutu. Lo yamutu. That will just strengthen the walls. Very good. Nowadays we have these machines and they vibrate and they compact it. So okay, say there, but back in the day they used foot traffic over the course of time, which was efficient in one way, but timely in another. You don't have to do all the work, but it would take 2 years, whatever it was, to compact the soil. Nowadays, we know more also. You plant grass because otherwise there's erosion like that. We have some shtick that we've learned over the years. Maybe they knew that too. I have no idea. Don't know. So says the Gemara. Amar Rav, where does this din in our Mishnah apply? Lo shanu ela kosel gina. This only applies by the wall of a garden. Aval kosel chatzer im balismo somech. But if we're dealing with a chatzer, no problem at all. So that's a limit on the machlokas. Our Mishnah is only talking about gina, according to this shita. But if it's dealing with chatzer, now we have a machlokas between our initial presentation of the Gemara and now, or it seems at least that way. Rab gives this limit. Rav Oshaya Omer, I disagree. Echad kosel gina ve'echad kosel chatzer im balismoch eino somech. He says our Mishnah is not only dealing with the gina, it's dealing with both the gina and the chatzer. So it's a broader machlokas. It's not as simple as you think. And Amar Reb Yossi Bar Chanina velo pligi. There is no machlokas between the two. Ha be'ir yeshana, ha be'ir chadasha. There's a difference. In an older city, what is one thing that you have going for you in an older city? That people have been trampling the ground for years. The earth is compacted already. You're good to go. Ma'ashein kain in a new place. Okay, so there we should say that eino samech. We need to keep the gap because, okay, in the old city, people have been walking by the beton's wall for decades. It's a new city. Okay, then dalet amos. We need to have people walking through to compact the ground. It's all about compacting the ground. Now the Gemara is going to pose a couple of kashas on this havamina that it's about davsha. That's the Rashi we saw 3 lines down about dashin beregel bein shnei aksalim. The Gemara says a third of the way down. We're only going to be going to the Mishnah tonight, and then we'll stop. Tnan. Hachalonos, when we're talking about windows, this is the second half of our Mishnah from the bottom of Chav Beis Amud Aleph. We had said in the Mishnah, Ben milmalan, Ben milamatan, Ben michanegdan, Arba Amos. We said no matter what, when it comes to windows, if you're above the window, you're below the window, or opposite the window, we need Dalet Amos. So the Gemara says, B'tani Allah, we have a brisa that teaches and explains our Mishnah. Milemalan, what is the reason why we need 4 Amos above? Well, we don't want to have our window aligned with yours. That's not from, I'm not supposed to look into your window. I was staying in a hotel last night. I got stuck in New York last night. I was staying in a hotel, mamish, right outside. I was on the 21st floor of this is actually the night before last, the 21st floor of a hotel. There are windows like right across the way. I'm like, okay, this is not comfortable. Like I'm just closing my curtains. This is not comfortable. So that's what we're concerned about. That's not okay. That when we're dealing with lamala, that's not right. We have to create some type of room environment. It's not okay. If the wall is too short, so then shelo yamod vira. I could stand on the wall and see in your window. Your window might be a 2nd floor window, but my 10-foot wall, if I stand on top of it, shalom, nice to see you. So that's also not so from. Umichenegdan, and if it's opposite your window at a distance, what about all the sunlight? Shelo yapil. It's not right that I'm causing for your room to be darker. It's not nice. If I'm going to build a wall, I shouldn't ruin the light. So says the Gemara, let's make a deal. Taima, the reason why when we talk about michenegdan in our Mishnah is shelo yapil. Aval mishum davsha lo. What do we not see? The concern of the Gemara from 10 lines ago, that it's all about davsha. So is davsha a concern? Or is davsha not a concern? Like the Gemara, halfway down, Hacha b'mayaskinon, b'baminatzad. We're not dealing with a regular case where the walls are parallel. We're dealing with a case where the walls are perpendicular, and therefore davsha is just not a relevant. It's not relevant. There's plenty of space to walk. If you want to tell me that in parallel form, it's only 2 feet is not enough. Okay, so make it 6 feet. I understand. But if they're perpendicular to one another, then people will walk on one side and walk on this. No, davsha is not a factor. What is a factor? Blocking the light. So okay, fine. That because sugyas are not. They're not. There's really no machlokas here at all. It's a great point the Gemara brings up. Says the Gemara v'kama. How far away from the wall do we need it to be from a window? The perpendicular wall. Amar yeva Yeva was Chamuha de Ashan bar Nadvach. He was the father-in-law of this person of Ashan bar Nadvach. And he said it Mishmei de Rav, Kimelo Rochav Chalon, like the width of a window, which the Meforshim here explain is a tefach. Says the Gemara, V'halo meitzitz. Oh, well, hold on one second. The Gemara says that you can still see. So Amarav's vid, if I stand on the wall, it would be a problem even if it's a tefach. I can still see. Says the Gemara, B'madir is koslo. We're dealing with where the top of the wall was sloped, so you can't even stand on it. It's super sloped. Not sloped like 10 degrees, like sloped like 45 degrees. You can't stand on it, and therefore there's no concern. How can you say a tefach arba amos? Says the Gemara, that depends. Kan meruach achas. When there's only one wall perpendicular to the window, so then a tefach is sufficient. You're not going to stop all the sunlight. However, kan mishtei ruchos, but if you have two perpendicular walls on each side of the window, then you're a jerk and you're going to be stopping all the light. That's not allowed. Then you need daled amos. And the next and final shaila of the day, toshma ve'es hakosel min hamazchila. We need the wall to be distant enough from my house, from the gutter of my house, daled amos. I need to be able to put a ladder up from the edge of the wall. So if, let's say right here is the wall you want to build. Here's my house. I need to get a ladder in between the wall and my house at a safe angle so I can get up there and clean out the gutters. Okay? So it says the Gemara needs to be daled amos. And look what the Gemara says. Taima mishum sula. It seems to be that the daled amos isn't because of davsha. It isn't because of hardening the earth and compacting the earth. It's just enough to get a ladder in. Aval mishum davshalo. So says the Gemara, we're dealing with a roof that was a little bit sloped, and because when you have that overhang, a cantilever, as we would call it in our homes, so then like you're protected from the rain. People will walk under that, and there will still be davsha. So therefore, you can't ask the kasha. We'll stop right here. Emir Hashem, tomorrow night, this year will for sure happen. I'm not sure if it's going to be with me. At this point, it looks like it won't be me, and it will be Rabbi Handler, but I will confirm with all of you tonight. Not that it matters. Still 8:45 right here. Still blot and a half. Wishing you all a beautiful night.